This is the Ball Talk Podcast, presented by Nachos and Analysis.
What's going on, Tiger fans? Today is Thursday, May 11th, and welcome to the 15th episode of the Ball Talk Podcast presented by Nachos and Analysis. I'm your host, Drew Archer, and let's talk some ball. Well, after a week off with video podcasts, I am back this week. We had to record in a different location. There has been a lot of construction where I typically record, and it sounded like the bomb squad was here trying to break into a terrorist's house or something. So had to record elsewhere. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as I sat down to record today, started hearing a lot of thuds and bumps and stuff outside. So hopefully whoever's out there is going to keep it down. But nonetheless, we're going to talk some Clemson Baseball and Clemson Softball. It was yet another big weekend for the baseball team. The softball team had the week off. They had finished up their regular season and had a week off for exams. And a much-needed week of rest, especially after a tough final ACC series of the season. The Tigers lost that final regular season series to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech took 2 of 3 games there. But my goal, we normally release these episodes at 7 p.m. on Thursdays. My goal is to get this out by hopefully Thursday morning. So a lot of this is a little bit more relevant. I'm recording, just press record at 5:50 on Wednesday. The baseball team is about to start against Coastal Carolina. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but I'm going to try to get this episode out a little bit earlier to talk about the preview for the ACC tournament for the ladies here. The Tigers, they got the 3rd seed in the ACC tournament. They'll be playing 6th seed North Carolina. The Tigers are 7-0 all time against the Tar Heels. And then I don't know how many Tiger fans are really surprised by this, but it's still awesome nonetheless. Valerie Cagle, it was announced Wednesday that she is the ACC Player of the Year. So the GOAT just keeps winning. She keeps doing GOAT things. So another huge year for Valerie Cagle. We're going to look at some of her stats here in a little bit. And then the baseball team, they swept number 22 Louisville at home at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. It was so nice after being on the road there for a little bit to take in some baseball with beautiful weather out at Doug Kingsmore Stadium this past weekend. Clemson is currently or is about to start their game with Coastal Carolina. So even if I do get this posted Thursday morning, I'm not going to have your final result here for that. But a big game. Just was scrolling through Twitter before I hit record. William Crockenbush, he posted on Twitter saying that he thinks if Clemson gets a win tonight against Coastal Carolina, that there's no doubt that they will be a regional host. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity of that. But there is a lot that can happen. We'll talk about it here in a little bit with the team in the Midlands and what's happened with them as of late. They've had a rough stretch over the last 8 games. They also have 7 more games left, and the Gamecocks can turn it around. The same could be said for Clemson. They've been doing really, really well, but a lot can happen in 7 games. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I do not. But I don't know. Maybe recency bias. I'm a little hesitant to go ahead and crown this team a regional host. But a lot on the table. A big matchup with Coastal tonight. By the time you're listening to it, you'll already know the outcome to that game. But prior to that game, the Tigers have won 14 of their last 17 games and 12 of their last 14 ACC games. That is a huge turnaround from what we saw out of this team when conference play began. A huge turnaround. like I said, I'm recording this on Wednesday prior to the game, but they are playing 8th ranked Coastal Carolina. That would be yet another huge notch in the Tigers' resume when it comes to determining seedings and regional hosts and that kind of stuff. So it's coming down to the wire with the last 2 weekends of regular season baseball play. And I think we got a lot of exciting baseball ahead of us. All right, ladies first, we're going to talk some Clemson softball. The Tigers travel to South Bend, Indiana, along with the rest of the conference to play in the ACC tournament. Tigers earned the 3rd seed in the tournament. Will face the 6th seed North Carolina Tar Heels. I'm trying to pull up the game that's currently in action. Let's see. Notre Dame, as I'm recording this, is playing number 10 Georgia Tech in game 2 of the tournament. And last I saw, Georgia Tech was leading 3-0. Trying to multitask here, can't type and talk at the same time. Let's see, where are we at? As of now, it's the 3rd inning. Georgia Tech up 5-0 against the 7th seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So, and that game will have, or potentially will have, implications on Clemson. So, let's take a quick look. Wednesday is the first day of the ACC tournament. Already, 1 game is wrapped up. The 8th seed Virginia Cavaliers face the 9th seed Syracuse Orange. Syracuse, despite being the lower seed, won that game 8-2. They will face, let's see here. They will face Virginia Tech tomorrow. I copied and pasted this from the email they sent out, and that just don't look right. Where is Florida State? Here's my problem here with copying and pasting from the email that was sent out by Clemson's SID with all the wrong information. So I was going to break down all these games. It doesn't even show Florida State in this bracket. Florida State's the number 1 seed. And unless I'm just going crazy, this is horrible podcasting here. I don't know how I missed this whenever I copied and pasted it out of the email sent. But regardless, right now, what we know, Clemson is facing North Carolina. The Tigers are 7-0 all-time against the Tar Heels. Now, I would tell you who they're going to be playing next, depending on if they win. But based on the wrong information I have sitting here in front of me, I don't want to talk about that. So let's see. ACC Softball Tournament. And if you're watching, I'm sorry, I'm shaking my computer here. Let's see. Yeah, they got that all kind of wrong. All right, so here we go. So, like we said, Syracuse won that first game, eliminating Virginia. Syracuse will face the number 1 seed Florida State tomorrow at 11 a.m. or the day you're listening to this, Thursday at 11 a.m. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, like we said, currently in action. Georgia Tech leading that game 5-0. The winner of that game will face the 2nd seed Duke Blue Devils. Why that game is important is because if Clemson were to beat North Carolina, they would face the winner of that game. Is not important. So I guess I got to go back and fact check some of the stuff the SID sending out, unless I just failed to learn how to copy and paste, which I'm pretty good at that. So regardless, the ladies got a big opportunity here to face a team that they've had a lot of success against. And if they are to win, then they will face the winner. Oh, yeah, I'm right. Sorry. They will face the winner of Duke and the winner of the Notre Dame-Georgia Tech game. I feel like this is a sloppy segment. I don't have the time to go back and delete it. So for those of you who are listening, you're just getting a little comedy section in this week's episode of the podcast. So I think it's safe to say at this point, Clemson is going to be a regional host, barring some kind of epic failure tomorrow night. So looking forward to continuing to watch some Clemson softball going forward. So after that horrible segment, let's skip ahead to talk about some successes in this tournament and not the failure of that poor job there. So some highlights for this week. As we mentioned at the top, Valerie Cagle named ACC Player of the Year. She is hitting extremely well right now. .465, 18 home runs on the season, 1 triple, 14 doubles. She has 53 RBIs, scored 46 runs. She's drawn 27 walks while maintaining a .917 slugging percentage and a .554 on-base percentage with 5 stolen bases through the 53 regular season games. As you know, she's a dual threat. She maintains a 1.22 ERA through 32 appearances with 7 solo shutouts and 3 saves. She has 22 wins in the circle, struck out 165 batters in 161 innings. I'm going to say that again. 165 strikeouts. She struck out 165 batters in 161 innings. No wonder she won Player of the Year. A few other players getting some honors. 4 to be specific. Caroline Jacobson, Aaliyah Logaleo, Allie Miklish, and Millie Thompson all earned third team all ACC accolades. So a little bit surprised that none of those ladies made it up into second team, but nonetheless, this team is well represented in the conference honors here at the end of the regular season heading into the ACC tournament. So this time next week when we revisit Clemson softball, we're going to be talking about regionals. We're going to be talking about, who knows? I have no gauge on this team. After the way they performed all season long, and then the way they wrapped up the year, that week off could not have come at a better time. And I think it will be beneficial for this team. I honestly just have no prediction. I'm looking forward to keeping up with Clemson softball this weekend. That's one thing. Yours truly has an extremely busy weekend. Will not be near a phone, a television, a computer. I may or may not be able to receive smoke signals. So as big of a weekend as it is with the ACC tournament and a big matchup for the baseball team against Virginia Tech, I'm going to rely on some spotty updates from time to time. So looking forward to reviewing this tournament next week, and hopefully we're going to be celebrating another Clemson championship. All right, before we get to Clemson baseball, we can't forget our loyal sponsor from the very beginning, Pump Monkey Septic Service. Pump Monkey is owned and operated by Clemson alumni Alan Powell, and he's been making a huge impact here in the upstate. They've been taking the jobs that a lot of the well-known businesses, the more established businesses here in the upstate, don't want to take or too busy to take. Reach out to Pump Monkey for all your septic service needs. You can reach them via phone call or text message at 864-710-2211. Again, 864-710-2211. Reach them on Facebook and Instagram. And when you need your septic tank pumped, or when the dump gets funky, call Pump Monkey. All right, Clemson Baseball. And before I get into this past weekend series, I'm a little disappointed. I don't know how I missed this. I did not realize today's game with Coastal Carolina was on ESPN Plus. So I will not be watching that game. I had it all set up, ready to pull up, and then clicked on it and saw that it was ESPN Plus. If you're like me, you probably subscribe to way too many streaming services, and ESPN Plus did not make the cut for the Archer family. So we'll be following that on Twitter, it seems like. But with a free TV, I was able to pull up the game that we talked about previously in the softball tournament. Georgia Tech has taken a 7-1 lead over Notre Dame, and my closed captioning is blocking the inning. It looks like it's the bottom of the fourth. So we'll keep you up to date on that, but it really doesn't matter. We're not a live radio show, so it doesn't matter, in all honesty. But what does matter is the way that this baseball team has found a new groove. The pitching staff that we were worried about earlier in the season, the bats that we were worried about earlier in the season, they figured it out. The Tigers sweep number 22 Louisville at Doug Kingsmore Stadium last weekend. You heard the stats of consecutive games in that time frame, but 3 big wins for the Tigers to help build that resume, boost that RPI, and hopefully help with Clemson hosting a regional. If you told me 2 months ago, if I told you 2 months ago Clemson was going to be hosting a regional, they would beat multiple ranked teams, some on the road, sweeping one. I would have thought you were talking about a completely different season, completely different team, different roster. But this team, under first-year head coach at Clemson, Eric Bakich, this team is putting the pieces together. The first couple games, really all weekend, this team was really pushing Louisville's pitching staff. They went through so many pitchers. In years past, you've had a lot of people kind of heckling out there in right field with the opposing team. Hadn't been a whole lot of that out there this year. I remember looking, I think it was number 51 on Friday. I yelled out there asking him to help me with my Kentucky Derby picks. He did not oblige, and what my wife picked for me did not work out either. So he was no help, but I did, whoever they had out there in right field Sunday after their 17th pitching change, it felt like, I yelled out there to him, like, hey, man, y'all got enough pitchers to get through this game? And I appreciate when opposing players see the humor in things and don't get upset and don't take the whole situation too seriously. He turned around, looked at me, and shook his head. He's like, we ain't got enough pitchers in that bullpen to get us back home to Louisville with a win. That was a big part of the weekend. Another big part of the weekend, Friday and Saturday, was the difference in hitting. The Tigers out-hit the Cardinals by 10 runs like midway through the game Friday night. I think it was 13 hits to 3 the Tigers had over Louisville, and Louisville was winning 3-1. Similar type story, not as big of a lead. It might have been tied on Saturday, but a still big difference in hits between the two teams. Friday night, Tigers win 6-3. Amick took care of that deficit. He had a 2-run homer to tie the game. Then the Tigers took the lead in the 7th with a bases-loaded walk. Then a bases-loaded hit-by-pitch. Grice got hit by a pitch there. Reed Garris moves to 4-0 on the season. He earned the win in relief and he pitched 1 2/3 innings. That was a hitless and scoreless inning. Ryan Ammons pitched 1 1/3 inning, and he recorded his 3rd save of the year. So he's getting back healthy. He's being a big contributor out of that bullpen late in games. And Saturday, Tigers win 4-3. Clemson broke up a 1-1 tie game with 3 runs in the 7th inning. Louisville hung around yet again despite Clemson out hitting them. Nick Clayton moves to 5-0. He earned the win in relief by pitching 1 1/3 inning. Robert Hughes pitched the 9th inning to record his first save as a Tiger. Clemson starter Austin Gordon pitched 6 innings, 6 strong innings, allowing only 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, with 5 strikeouts. And if you want to talk about strikeouts, Sunday in Clemson's 7-3 win, Caden Grice had 11 strikeouts in 6 1/3 inning. It is the most strikeouts by a Clemson pitcher since 2021. This game really wasn't in question quite like the other two. There was a little excitement that almost happened. I can't even remember when exactly it was, but the Tigers cleared the bench after Bertram tagged a base runner. Base runner didn't necessarily like where he was tagged, but it was kind of his fault the way he slid, and he hopped up into Bertram's face there. And I look up, and the entire Clemson team standing on the first baseline there. Can't remember the last time I saw something like that, but that one was all on the base runner there. A lot of frustration. This Louisville team come in. They were winning at a point on Friday, and a tie ball game Saturday and Sunday, trying to avoid a sweep, and Tigers just kept tightening their grip on the Cardinals. So a big weekend. Again, the 5th consecutive ACC series that the Tigers have won. It's their 4th series sweep of the year. And as we mentioned, they are currently in action with Coastal Carolina. As I am going to preview this Virginia Tech series, I'll pull up the handy dandy Twitter, see if there's anything on that game yet. But the Tigers travel to Virginia Tech this weekend to face the Hokies. The Hokies, similar record to the Tigers. They were 28-16 on the season, 11-12 in conference. They are currently playing Liberty, so that record is prior to tonight's game against Liberty. So another big road series, final road series of the regular season for the Tigers. And this is a very winnable series. And if the Tigers play like they did this past weekend in Doug Kingsmore Stadium, they could sweep Virginia Tech on the road. I did look up now where I am currently at in my recording process. Tigers up 1-0 in the top of the first. Billy Amick singled to the left to bring Will Taylor home there. So Tigers with an early 1-0 lead in the top of the first inning. Next week, the Tigers return home for a midweek series, and as we'll discuss next week, wrap up the final regular season series of the season. Their midweek game is Tuesday, 6 o'clock against USC Upstate. Upstate did defeat Clemson back in March 6-3. And prior to their series this weekend with Towson, USC Upstate is 32-16. So a lot of baseball left to play in this next 2-week time frame. A lot can go right. The Tigers can continue to improve their stock if they continue to play the way that they have. So it all starts Friday at 4 o'clock. That'll be on ACC Network Extra from Blacksburg. And then the Tigers garnering a little bit of respect with television. They will be on ACC Network both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday's game, the primetime 7 o'clock slot, and then Sunday at 3 o'clock. So the Tigers need to finish strong. Can they? Absolutely, they can. They are right where Coach Bakich wants them. I mentioned this kind of at the top. Peaking at the right time is extremely important. As much as it sucked to lose that series to South Carolina earlier in the year, and I know a lot of what they're struggling with right now is injuries, but sometimes that's how the ball rolls. The Gamecocks had a lot of early success in March and April. May has not been too kind to them. On the flip side, the last month and a half for the Tigers, they found their groove. The bats got hot. The pitching has improved significantly. And the Tigers are peaking when they should be to make a postseason run. So this is absolutely no shade at South Carolina. It's actually funny to me because they are so easily rattled on Twitter. All you got to do is make a post. And to my knowledge, we got a good following on social media, and there's a handful of Gamecock fans that follow our account. We interact with the Spurs Up show quite a bit. But the people that are always in our mentions and commenting on Nachos and Analysis posts, these aren't followers. These are people who are looking for an argument. They go and search Gamecock Baseball or whatever they search on Twitter to go snap back at people. And they want a response. They want to argue back and forth. They want to talk about how they won the series back in March. And, hey, you got bragging rights. You won the series back in March. One team is reeling right now, and one is exceeding expectations. That's all I got to say. Does that mean Carolina can't get healthy and turn it around? Sure. They're still, as of today, predicted to be a regional host. But with a big series against Arkansas this weekend, better not lose that one. They lost their midweek last night to some team I've never heard of before, North Florida, North something, some directional school. You won the state. But as of right now, you're not heading into the postseason healthy, and you ain't got no momentum. So, South Carolina fans, talk all the crap, bring it. Follow us on Twitter, keep it up. You're not going to bother me. We'll see what happens on the field. But regardless, a big weekend for the Tigers. And we will have a lot to talk about next week to wrap up this weekend series and to preview the final regular season series of the season when North Carolina will come to Doug Kingsmore Stadium. So really looking forward to it. Again, thank y'all for listening. I know we didn't have a Twitter poll this week, but regardless, follow us on Twitter, interact with us, get your thoughts out there. Love to talk about them and share them here on the show. But next week, join me Thursday as we preview some Clemson Baseball and some Clemson Softball. Talk to you next week. Peace.